What if you could build a $5 or even $10 million agency that ran without you? Not by working harder, not by burning yourself out and sacrificing your whole life at the altar of growth, which is what it feels like, right? Well, I know when you're a small independent agency owner and people talk about scaling your agency, it feels heavy. It feels like you're going to have to sacrifice a lot in order to make that happen. But it doesn't have to be like that. In today's short training, I'm going to show you the strategy stack that will enable you to grow to get to a point where you have choice. Choice whether you stay and keep growing because you're enjoying it and you've got a great team and you've got great clients and it really feels light and enjoyable and fun, or choice to step back and have your team step up so that you're only working on the real high level stuff that you want to be working on, or even choice to sell and walk away, which gives you freedom to think about what that next adventure in life is. If that sounds like you and what you really want to do, then stick around. I'm going to show you now in this short training how I did it and how we've done it for numerous other agencies. So we're going to solve the biggest challenge today is, why does every agency or business get stuck? And you may not know this, but every agency does get stuck. It's a particularly hard model to scale because it relies on talent. This is the same if you're a consultancy model rather than an agency model. You get stuck because it's hard to scale a service-based model. And so the first stage you'll recognize is all about sales. All you're doing is getting out there, probably selling your talent and getting clients on board. Any client's a good client. You'll get stuck at that stage when you realize you've probably onboarded clients that don't give you the margins enough to start building a team, and you need to start putting strategies in place. You'll get past that stage, and then you get to the next stage, which they call the messy middle. You might relate to this if your agency is around that sort of either side of that $1 million mark. That's typically where the messy middle is, because what's got you to here, usually it's like bolting strategies on top of each other, and you arrive at a place where you realize that you need to really back up the bus and reinvent yourself in order to get to that next level. And then there's the maturity stage. If you've been going for 15 years, you've got consistent sales, you've got great clients, you've got a great team, you've probably got a leadership team in place, but again, you stall. And the reason being is that you have not got the strategies and the positioning you need now to get you to the next stage. You need to keep reinventing yourself. Otherwise, there is a danger that you'll go into decline. So the strategy stack I'm going to show you today actually will help bust through these plateaus, because there are 3 reasons for the plateaus. Firstly, wrong positioning for the stage that you're at. What's got you to here in the marketplace is not going to get you to the next stage in the marketplace, especially when the landscape is changing as fast as it is right now. The second is that you've got scattered or no growth systems. Whether that's new business or growing your existing clients, it's ad hoc, it's famine or feast. It isn't consistent. And the third one is that you, the owner, are too hands-on and probably doing the wrong things, working too much in the business and don't have the bandwidth to do that strategic thinking. That creates the hamster wheel, and you know what that feels like, right? I know what that feels like. I still remember it. It's when you're working harder and harder, everyone's working longer hours, and you just don't feel that you're making the headway. You're not making the gain. Sometimes it even feels like you're going backwards. And life's a can't. You can't get off the tools, you can't get out of the weeds, can't afford to hire the right people, or you don't even know who you would hire if you could. You can't trust your team to do it as well as you, can't find quality clients, can't get decent budgets out of clients, and can't work out sometimes what the next steps even are. To get this result, this was my result for the agency that I built. It took us 4 years to get just below the $1 million mark, so it was very organic growth. And when we got there, I had a small team in place, I had some good clients, but we got stuck and we could not shift it. It was very, very stressful. I understand what that messy middle really feels like. So my team and I backed up the bus, and we put some strategies in place that enabled us in 1 year to bring on board 4 big clients. And from there we took off, and we were able to sell to the Ogilvy Group within 10 years. To get that kind of accelerated growth, you need a flywheel. Before I show you the flywheel, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. I'm Laura Humphreys. I did have my own agency. I started as a freelance copywriter. I built my agency from scratch. It was called Red Rocks, hence the picture of the beautiful south coast of the city where I live. When I started Red Rocks, had nothing. When I sold it, I was just a freelancer. When I sold it to the Ogilvy Group, we went past 10 million. We won Agency of the Year. We won numerous awards. We had a portfolio of blue chip clients. So it was a real success story. But of course, it was a roller coaster of ups and downs. And so when I'm working with agencies, I come from this huge place of empathy. I know exactly what it's like. After I sold Red Rocks, I started another business with a business partner. That's us in the middle there. It was a pet care company, but really it was an early stage tech business. We built a very sophisticated online booking system between pet carers and pet owners. And my partner and I built that up to 200 employees. We had 3 franchises up and running, and we sold to a competitor. Then I took some time out and I wrote a book called Liberate Your Business. And Liberate Your Business was really my bringing together the strategies that worked for me, and I put them all into, there were 8 of them, and I put them all into this book. And at this stage, I became a business mentor, helping businesses put 8 strategies in place that would enable them to not only grow, but actually create value and ultimately be able to exit their business. And then in the last few years, I've pulled that back to 7 strategies and created the Agency Flywheel, which are the same strategies, but specifically designed to work for agencies and my understanding of how agencies work particularly. So let's have a look at the Agency Flywheel. So the Flywheel is all about you having your ideal agency. And an ideal agency, I don't know about you, but for me, it was about bringing the enjoyment back. If you're anything like me, when I got to that sticky stage, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And so we've got to make sure that it's something, you build something that is really enjoyable and fun. It's also about freedom of time. It's about giving you your time back. And it's also about building a financial future. I was really clear that your agency should be there to pay you back for all of your hard work for you and your family. So those are the critical pillars that make up an ideal agency. I'm sure you'll agree with me on that. So the issues are, and this is what we did, is we looked at the agency and said, what are our problems? And the first thing we really nailed is that we're not winning business. We're pitching and we're putting in proposals, but we're losing more proposals than we're winning. We've got weak positioning. And what we really need to have is clear positioning. So that's what we set about doing. And we really pulled the business apart and we went in deep and said, what is it that we need to get our positioning clear in the marketplace? Well, the first thing was, where are we going, was direction. I had lost sight of why I started the agency in the first place. And if I couldn't see the excitement and the vision of what we were building, the vision, the impact, the big, hairy, audacious goal, the financial goals, if I couldn't see that as an owner, then my team weren't going to be able to see that either. So we get very clear when we work with you on where you're going and how you're going to lead your team. The second thing that we realized is that we didn't have a unique offer. We were pitching, we were the same as everybody else. We were apples competing with apples, and we really had to find something within what we did that would enable us to stand out. And so this is the work we do with agencies now, is we actually almost pull you inside out and go in deep and find what it is that you're already doing that we can bring out and take to market that's going to give you a unique positioning. Then the third thing we looked at was that we didn't have a portfolio of ideal clients at that stage. Some of our clients were too small and they were draining our resource. And we also weren't clear what kind of clients we wanted. So we did an audit on our existing clients. We worked out what clients we needed. We managed to get rid of some of the clients that weren't serving us, and we went after clients that were going to be more like the clients we wanted for the future. So that got us really clear what we were building and what it needed to be in the marketplace. So the next issue that we had, and you might have as well, is that we had stalled growth. We weren't growing, we were stuck. And what we really wanted is, we didn't just want incremental growth, we wanted accelerated growth. To get where once we set those big, hairy, audacious goals, we knew we wanted accelerated growth. And we had to look really hard at what was stopping that. Now that we had a clear position and we knew what clients we were going after, we needed a consistent sales system, and we didn't have one. It was very ad hoc. It was very referral based. It was famine or feast. So we stopped and put in place a very simple very simple sales system. And this is what we help you do as an agency owner. We actually stop and put in a sales system that is repeatable, consistent, and very simple. The next thing we looked at was the client growth. Like, we didn't have any way of actually deliberately and intentionally and systematically growing our clients. So again, we stopped and looked at how we could do that systematically, made it really simple. Everything about this flywheel for agencies is really simple. That's the beauty of it. So the next thing we looked at was that we had the issue of I was too hands-on. I was all over everything, my finger in every pie. And the team and I said, this has got to stop. I was burning out and they were getting resentful because I wasn't trusting them enough. So we went, okay, what are we going to do? What we really want is a self-managing agency. We want a self-managing team and we want a self-managing agency. And so we took a good look at what we would need to put in place to make that happen. So we looked at the team. Two things that we carefully looked at. One was the structure. We looked at what was the structure, the organizational structure of the ideal agency in the future. And then where were we at now? And what do we need to change in our positioning and our structure to head us in that direction? And the second thing we looked at was our high performance culture. And we didn't have one. We had a nice culture. And so we made a rule. We said, we only want A players only. We want the right people in the right seats at the right time going in the right direction. And that's what we set about putting in place. And that's what we help you do as well. And again, keep it simple. We put some very simple things in place that create a high performance culture. Then we had the strategies and we had the goals, but what are we actually going to do? How are we going to measure the movement of this in a way that's meaningful, because we can't do everything at once? So we broke it down into what are we going to do in the next 12 months? Just 7 or 8 things, nothing too complicated. What are we going to do that's going to shift the dial? And then we brought that down to 90 days. What are we going to do in 90 days that we can measure that's going to enable this to happen? And how do we get the whole team on board and accountable? And this is actually what creates the flywheel. Because if you get each of these strategies, and in a simple way, not in a complicated way, but you get each of these to a 4 or 5 out of 10, a 4 or 5 out of 5 rather, not out of 10, a 4 or 5 out of 5, then this is what happens. You start to see momentum. And this is where the flywheel takes off. Because each of the strategies builds on the next one, and they're not complicated. And that's the great thing about it, is that I was not a complicated person. It had to be simple. And so the actual pieces of inside these flywheel are simple. So that, my friends, is the flywheel. And it works fast. It's designed for long-term value, but once you put it in place, we help install it with you in 8 weeks. Once you've got it in place, it moves really quickly. So this was Phil. He was in a regional town, was really struggling because he couldn't find great people in the region, and he couldn't find great clients in the region. His thinking shifted so much with the work that he did with us, especially the 10 times thinking that made him think bigger, and the unique value proposition, that he onboarded 2 clients from outside of the region and started recruiting his team from outside the region. It was just like a different agency. Lindsay, when we met her, she was really over it. She told me that the only way she could see to grow was to work harder, and she was exhausted and she just wanted to walk away. 6 months later, I hopped on a call with her after she'd done the Growth Busters program and put the flywheel in place. She said she'd hired 2 more people, she'd doubled turnover, and was recruiting for another person. And she'd made a podcast. She's like a different person, huge high energy. Tony, his team were struggling to win any contracts. They were really falling behind. He was in trouble. We put the flywheel in place. They came up with their unique proposition, which they took to market, put it in the proposal. They won the biggest contract of their career. Brian and Jenny, they were about to remortgage their house. They had a list of leads that they were targeting, and but they couldn't convert. And he was so frustrating. He was nearly in tears when we met. And he put the flywheel in place. they went back to that same list of leads with his new offer and started converting them at 75% at a time, including onboarding their biggest monthly recurring revenue client ever. And in Jenny's words, it was a game changer. And Jennifer was very honest with me when we hopped on a call. She said that she was really struggling as a leader. She had a team in place, but she was struggling to lead them and get the agency moving forward the way she wanted to. And her words were actually, it changed me. It changed her as a person and as a leader. And she said, now we are the agency I wanted to be. So that's kind of how it happens. And it's remarkable because fiddling with the engine won't turn a Honda into a Ferrari. And so if you're focusing on lead generation, or you've got someone telling you that you need to make your SOPs more efficient, that it's all about, you're working internally, you do need to do that stuff. But those are tactical things that you need to do on top of the deep strategies that will pick up that accelerated growth. So my wish for you is that you get a Ferrari engine and you get it in a Ferrari. And then you install a flywheel that will create that accelerated growth and take you from that stuck feeling, which is horrible, to everybody's on the plane, everyone's in the right seats, everyone's taking off, everyone knows where they're going. So I hope you found that useful. My offer to you is that I would like to spend a little bit of time with you, just 30 minutes, and I will look at where you're at. I'll send you some questions prior so that we can really identify your number one bottleneck, and I'll give you a 3-step action plan. And we can also talk about the program that I run, which is called Growth Busters. And we'll only talk about it if it's a good fit for you. So what we'll do is I'll send you some questions. We'll hop on a call. I will work through where you're at with your agency and pinpoint the key bottlenecks. And then if it's a good fit for us, because we're really fussy about who we take on. We only want to take on agency owners we really genuinely believe we can help to scale and move forward quickly and with ease. And if it's a good fit for you, because you feel good about me, you feel good about the program, you feel good about it, then we will talk about what the next steps are. But only if it's a good fit. So the very least that will happen is that you'll spend some time with me, and we will uncover some bottlenecks, and you'll walk away with some action steps. And the best that could happen is that you may want to come and do the program with us. And if you do, we will love to have you, and we'll be working with you from then on. So all you need to do in the first instance is book a call, set a time up with me. I'll send you the questions and we can go from there. And I really hope to see you soon, and hope that we'll be helping you install a flywheel into your agency sometime soon. So thanks for now, and all the best.